Hey guys, we're in Leroy's shop. We came down here for Christmas and just hanging out with the family, and we're gonna do some interviews today and see what we can do to get through it and get you guys to understand what goes on in Leroy's head. So Leroy, tell everybody about what got you into this sport, what drives you to continue on in this sport, and what you like best about it.
So probably what got me into the sport, start there, is like anybody else, teenager, you start driving, you build up your truck, one piece at a time, what you can afford, what you can do. And I would say competitively, I probably started in mud racing. That's where a lot of people start, playing in the mud and hitting little local comps and doing that stuff. One thing led to another. And in that sport, I just got to a point to where I got tired of, you'd come home from an event and you spent more time washing your truck than you did doing anything else. And I just kind of got burnt out on doing that stuff. And the whole concept of the Buggy was to build a rig that was just dirty tough, and you go beat on it all weekend long and not have to work on it when you're done. And you go out there with a group of guys, and we all know how it is on the trail. You go out there and you get a couple of rigs out there and you get one or two break down or something. I just wanted that to be the rig that you could always count on it to be the one to get us off the trail if we needed to. And actually competing with that machine was kind of something that developed afterwards. It was kind of an afterthought in a sense.
So what was, you got done with the mud racing, what was your first event that you ever raced? And who kind of pushed that to you, or what gave you the idea to go and compete there?
In that rig there, I actually went to a mud race, was the first thing that we took that rig to, and broke it. And then actually the thing that got me into the multi-event competitions is I run across this little club event up in Mountain Home, Idaho. At that time they called it Idaho Top Truck Challenge, which is developed into Idaho Tough Truck Challenge now. And that was the first one we went to in 2008, and I broke the rig again pretty good there. And right after that went into TTC for 2009, did pretty decent at that event. I've been to Idaho Top Truck Challenge every year since 2008, and we go up there and have a good time. And that's where I really got a sense of the fact that I just really like multi-event type competitions.
So after you competed up there at ITTC, what changes did you make after the first year?
Beefed up a couple of parts that I broke up there. After that, the rig really stayed unchanged for the most part. Very little change to the rig for a lot of years. And then 2014, spring of 2014, I put the axle techs in it, and that was actually the first really big change that the rig had seen in a long time. We got those in there, and then after that, we had to make some changes with the transfer case to accommodate those axles better and a few things there. Then in 2015, we built the bigger engine, more power, and it was more competition oriented, trying to stay competitive with the guys that were putting together rigs with lots of horsepower and lighter rigs.
Right. So you were probably one of the first guys that ever ran the ag tires. How did that come about?
That was 2015, and that actually just worked out with a trade. I had an engine for a semi truck sitting out in the junk pile out back that a farmer wanted, and he had a set of tires that he was willing to trade for it. And it was basically no money out of my pocket to give him a try. I'm certainly not the first to run ags, because the mega truck guys have been doing it for 20 years now. Them guys have been running them. A few guys in Top Truck Challenges, they had ran them and really showed that they worked well. And where I wasn't invested deeply money wise to try them out, I was willing to give them a shot. And they really only lasted one event, but they worked so well that it was worth buying a new set of tires and running them. Now I have 2 sets that will fit the rig for different applications.
Gotcha. So, for the viewers, tell us about your rig. What are you running for an engine? What tranny case, everything, all the specs on your rig. What do you run in this for people that don't know who you are?
Okay, so starting with the engine, since 2015, we've been running a 513 cubic inch big block Ford 460 base stroker engine. It makes pretty close to 700 horsepower, not on the bottle. With the nitrous, we're on a 200 shot, so it's close to 900 horsepower on the bottle. Behind that is a C6 automatic transmission. I usually do my own modifications to that here at home, and then that's followed with a Trailworthy Fab Hero 3-speed transfer case. And it's actually set up with their 6x6 rear output, and it's hung in a center drop position for the axle techs, so better driveline angles and everything for that. Obviously the axle tech differentials, 1410 joints. That's pretty much, you know, almost standard running gear for a lot of the rigs nowadays. You know, big differentials, big drivelines. You know, the Hero transfer case is super tough for what we're doing there. It's just a proven piece. This year's plan, well, for 2019, we want to do a new engine for the Buggy. Not really looking for a big horsepower increase or anything like that. I'm actually probably going to lean back more towards getting back a little more trail friendly, a little more fun to drive on the trail. Probably won't lose a lot of horsepower in the competitive events, because what we're going to take away in the you know, naturally aspirated horsepower, we're going to make up with more nitrous for competitive stuff, and see how that works.
Gotcha. And for the fans that they see this stuff on YouTube, they see, you know, Mountain Mafia TVs obviously going on now. A lot of people don't understand how much time goes into, you know, first and foremost, building the Buggy, getting the Buggy ready for an event. You know, tell these people what you broke over the years in competition, tires, you know, axles, just whatnot. You know, a lot of these guys see what we do and they think, oh, well, it's a big expensive Buggy, nothing breaks on it, and you know, take her home and clean her up and you're ready for the next one. Tell the viewers what you've gone through in the 7 or 8 years that you've been competing.
Well, like the axle upgrade, it wasn't a huge upgrade in strength for me, because I really didn't have many issues with the F106s that were in it before. But there was some gains as far as width, better stability, and the steering angle on the axle tech is way better than a Rockwell in any sense. So capabilities of the machine increased. It wasn't a huge gain in strength, but you know, you still do break parts. You know, people, they might see the YouTube videos and see where you did good or everything works out, but there's always something. You're going to come home and have to look something, or you need to check it. You know, everybody knows that we do bolt checks and stuff like that before we go to an event. Just give it a good once over, make sure stuff's going on. I've run into some silly little things that, you know, you pull the engine and transmission out to freshen up the transmission, and you go to put something together and bump a harness wrong and break a wire off at a pin, and you go to pull it out of the shop and it'll turn left but it won't turn right, and then you spend a couple hours troubleshooting an electrical problem or something. You know, you run into that kind of stuff. It's really not, it's been a really good rig. It's just been a solid piece of equipment.
Right.
And I'm probably not as hard on that machine as some guys are with their rigs. We know there's guys out there that just go out there and full throttle and hammer it, and they'll take care of what breaks or upgrade what they need, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, my hat's off to those guys for going all out, especially for the crowd and the people watching. It's just, every time I try to drive like that, if I try to drive that hard, it usually turns around and bites me in the butt with a rollover or you know, just not doing very good in a comp. So I try to keep a level head and just try and drive smooth. And the easiest way for me to do that is I go out there and drive just like I am out on the trail. You know, there's plenty of times when we're just out back here playing around, and I flog on it a lot more than a guy needs to in the backyard, just, you know, just having fun, you know,
Right.
just having a good time.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, going into a race, I mean, what is your game plan? A lot of people see these other drivers, these kamikaze drivers is what some guys call them, we call them whatever. what are your thoughts going into a race, and why do you drive the way that you drive, and what's going on in your head on the way to a race, during the race. Let the fans know, viewers know what you're kind of thinking when you're there.
So, like on the way to a race, I don't, if you overthink it, you just give yourself anxiety. There was a point competing, the competition was getting less and less fun because you're so worried of the outcome of the race. Oh, am I going to do good? Am I going to do poorly? Am I going to break the rig? Is this just going to wind up being a cost? You're just spending money to go tear stuff up. At that point, when I got to that point, I basically just decided that it's not worth worrying about it that hard. So I've actually just I just go into a race almost like you're going to go trail wheeling somewhere, whether it be out back or you're going to drive to Moab and go wheel trails. It's a lot less stressful that way, and the fun is there. If you're going to go to an event, you're going to get to see other drivers. Some of them you haven't seen all year long. The only time you'll see them is at Havoc. So I guess the anticipation or the excitement for me for an event is knowing that you're actually going somewhere to have fun. You're not just another day in the shop or another day at work. You're going, it's a vacation. You're going and having fun with people and doing stuff. And as far as mentally, pre-course or pre-event thought, I don't really have a routine or anything like that. Probably don't talk a whole lot. I'm just kind of chill and listening to how other drivers are doing and trying to enjoy. It's easy to enjoy myself and have a good time. And then as far as on the course, people that have ridden with me before, they know, I usually tell them before we go, let's go wheel this trail. And to me, that's all it is. You're going to head off into Mountain Man. To me, that's just one of the funnest trails that you're going to wheel. And that particular day, you're just going to try and wheel it as fast as you can.
Right. So getting back into the competition side of things, tell the viewers, fans, what are the races that you've competed in? How well have you done in these events? And what are your favorite events? It might not be your favorite event, but what is your favorite courses at these events? Where do we go?
Probably the longest running event we've gone to, like I said, is the Idaho Tough Truck Challenge. We've been going there 10 years now. This last year was the 10-year anniversary of actually going up there and competing at that event. And as far as an event as a whole, that is one of the funner ones because there's, it's just a club event. It's not counting for points or anything like that in any kind of series. You're going up there and you're competing against guys or wheeling with guys, everything from a Toyota on 35s all the way up to a full tube chassis rig on 54s.
Right.
And everything from a four banger to a 900 horsepower big block on nitrous. And it's just a really fun event to go down there. There's just no pressure, and it's just so much fun to go up there and have a good time. This last year, 2018, Justin Haft beat me for the overall win, and that was the first time I didn't win that event since 2009. So I mean, Justin's a really good competitor. He's a good driver. And you can tell he has a good time competing at those events as well. So I mean, it certainly didn't hurt my feelings to lose to Justin because he is a really good competitor. Havoc, we've been at every Havoc that they've had since it started in Canada in 2013, 2014. I won the first one in 2013. 2014, that was the year we put the axle techs in. A lot of new stuff with the rig, a lot of stuff getting used to the differences in the rig. I actually did pretty poorly up there, but we still had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. And then when they moved it to the United States for Mountain Havoc at Purcell Trench Ranch, we went back up there again, more seat time in the improvements and changes on the rig, and everything kind of came together, and we wound up winning that event. We've been back to Bonners Ferry, 2016, 17, and then this year, 2018. Actually, 15, 16, 17. I might have been messed up on my years a little bit there.
Right. I think it was 15 the first year here in Bonners.
Yeah. So, and then this year was the first year since it's been in Bonners Ferry that I didn't win Mountain Havoc. I lost to you this year, which, again, great competitor, great rig. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all to pull a second place with the amount of talent that's up there. You know as well as I do, them guys that show up to that event are just phenomenal drivers, excellent rigs, and any guy that can score, top 5 place up there should be happy with what they get, because you're with the best of the best in that particular type of event.
Right. So now that things are moving forward, with Mountain Mafia, who are they to you? What do they mean to you? Ben Spinney, Brooke, Spencer, who are these people to you?
So Ben Spinney and Brooke, they've been friends of ours since, before there was a Mountain Havoc. We've just known them, as friends, personally as friends, long distance friends for a number of years. I really like Ben and Brooke. They're good people. As far as Mac and Gray, the basically what round out, the rest of the Mountain Havoc and Mountain Mafia and that group that put on that organization, they're just really good people. You couldn't ask for a better group of people to put on an event and invite you to come up and terrorize their courses and have a good time for the weekend. Right. So yeah, it's easy to look forward to that event. I have no problems driving. It's 1,500 mile round trip for us to go up and hit that event and come back. And we all know fuel's not getting cheaper. It costs money to go and do this stuff, but it's easy to make that haul. Get your stuff ready for the weekend and get everything dialed in and ready to go. It makes it really worth it when you can go up there and hang out with those guys and see what they've put together for us for that year.
Right. So before we move on to your event, we've got a show, a 6-part series that just aired two weeks ago on Velocity. Now it's Motor Trend. What do you think about that? Havoc 18 being filmed by a good production crew, Send It Productions, I believe. They were awesome to work with and everything, but what does that mean to you being on television now, seeing this sport go to the next level?
Right, for a driver, that's really good because publicity for you is good. I mean, like I said before, nothing's getting cheaper. It costs us money to go and do this stuff. And if you can pick up a sponsor, to help with anything, I have next gen head restraints. They help me out with the Hans unit, basically head and neck restraint unit. They have Nitrous Express. Those guys, they take care of me on the nitrous side of stuff. Sonoma Cycle, a local motorcycle shop, that he helps me out, refilling my nitrous bottles and
So
race
where's
fuel.
he at? Where's he out of here?
He's in Winnemucca, Nevada.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and those guys are always on board with, helping get to these events and stuff. So as far as the TV aspect as a driver, that helps you get more sponsors, even if it's just and I don't mean to say just, because like 30% off of a product,
That's huge.
That's big for somebody that's trying to, when you're paying it all out of your pocket.
Right.
And that's really good to be able to extend, go different avenues and talk to different companies when you have that little bit of an angle where you can show them, look, the rig and myself, they're on TV. You get a little bit of recognition for the effort that they're putting into it.
Right. And I guess we're going to move forward to your event. Tell us about your event here in Winnemucca. What do you got going on?
So 2016 was the first year of High Desert Top Truck, and that started out as, well, you go to enough events and you can give your opinion, and most promoters, they're all about listening to what the drivers say. That's another great thing about Ben and Mac and Gray, is they want to hear your input. Sometimes, you'll give input, and sometimes your input might be it might not sound ridiculous to yourself giving them that input, but they might be like, okay, we get it. You don't know that you're the fifth driver today that's told them the same
Right.
thing, And I was told one time at an event, maybe you should try and put an event on. So that's where it kind of started. It's like, well, maybe I will.
Right.
And then once the gears got turned and you got to thinking about it, then it turned into tying two clubs in together. We have a local drag race club and a motocross club. And that first year we utilized both properties and kind of tried to make it beneficial for both of those clubs. And since then, we've basically moved the whole venue to just the motocross and their property and what they do. And they're so good, the Winnemucca MX track, at what they do to help us out with Trent Angle pretty much is all about building the courses, and they help with every angle that we can. There's some other local clubs, the Northern Nevada Jeep Junkies, that volunteer their time and efforts to help put stuff on. And it just, to me, tries to bring something new to the area.
Right.
So people can, people in town that have ever seen what we do, I believe there's 3 rigs, Havoc style rigs here in the Winnemucca Golconda area between myself, Larry Dowd, and Jason Arian.
Right.
And, some of the local people are like, why do you need a tube chassis buggy on 54-inch tires and 700 horsepower to go wheel around in the desert? It's
Right.
like, well, first of all, it's fun. And second of all, that's not all we do. We don't just two-track or road around on these things. Now, if you have an event to where they can actually come out and watch what, these guys are driving 700 miles to Bonner's Ferry, or, going to events in Oregon, in different areas, to where you can actually, they can go out and see it. They can go watch what we're doing. That was kind of my biggest goal, was to just bring something new into the area and let them see something.
Right. So, where do you see the sport going? With the TV show, and it's definitely being recognized all over the states right now. I know drivers back east that are contacting me and other drivers, and they're excited to see what we do. It's completely different than what they do, and they're curious as to what we're doing. Where do you see this sport going in the next 5 years?
I can see it growing for sure. It's kind of been a little bit of a lull. It hasn't changed a lot, since say 2013. 2013 basically picked up where TTC went away from the buggies and the big all-out rigs. They kind of pick that up and give an event that these rigs can continue to go to year after year. And then once Mountain Mafia picked it up and created Mountain Havoc, now it's basically set in stone that this is here to stay. They're going to keep doing it. It's not just 1 or 2 events, see how it pans out and it didn't work. These guys are going to do it and continue to do it. So with that, you can see more guys wanting to build rigs to be able to go and do this, because it's not going away.
Right.
You could spend 2 years building a rig to be competitive here, and then 2 years from now, if they quit having the event, why did you do this? Now that it's pretty much established this is going to stay, the only way for the sport to grow now is for more people to, step in and be competitive with the rigs they have, or upgrade the rigs they have, or build new rigs. And now it's the point now that you need to get more competitors wanting to do it, because the event's here.
Right, and I don't think I'll agree with you on that. I don't think it's going anywhere. So, going back to TTC days and seeing truggies and, just the evolution of this sport and wheeling, how many competitors do you see going into the buggies versus just building trucks? Do you see a lot of guys, dropping what they're doing, or full blow, doing a truggy instead of a full blown truck on tons?
Right.
What do you see happening?
There's a few rigs, mine being one of them, Cheston Scout. Those rigs they're competitive Havoc rigs that are still trying to hang on to that trail orientation. Right. Cheston's has a back seat. He's got the whole family with him when he goes wheeling. There's a few of us that are hanging on to that, trying to keep that aspect. And then you've got guys that they're dumping the trucks. You know, there's guys that right now that are trying to advance, for them to advance or to be more competitive. They're building new rigs completely, you know, wiping the slate clean and starting over. And to me, I think that's smart. If you're going to go into Havoc and you want to go and be competitive in that, strongly competitive, you know, the buggies are pretty much where it's at.
And so I've got to ask you, I mean, most everybody knows you as an anti-LS guy, and you're pretty adamant about that online. So what's going on with the LS and the Ford thing?
I'm not so much anti-LS as I am anti-LS fanboy. So, you know, everybody that thinks that you're gonna bolt in an LS and a cam and a tune and have all this horsepower, go right ahead. Just don't be surprised if you're a little disappointed. It takes a little more than that.
And then, you know, there's been some questions from the wives about what if you were to just actually combine the LS and the Ford together? What do you think about that?
Their super motor?
There's the super motor, the
Yeah.
end all be all motor.
Yeah, it'd probably be pretty super sucky. But that's just my opinion on it.
That's funny. All right, well, thanks for sitting down, letting the fans know about everything, and it's been a pleasure, man.
You bet. Anytime.